First, it was the G7 in Japan's Hiroshima, the Quad on the sidelines, and the visit to Papua New Guinea. Finally, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's six-day three-nation tour ended in Australia. It was a visit full of bilaterals and bonhomie. Prime Minister Modi was accorded with the Ceremonial Guard of Honour at the Admiralty House in Sydney, which is where the bilateral also took place. They spoke about boosting regional, cultural and even economic ties. Beyond this, they also spoke about the Quad, the Russia-Ukraine war and the attacks on temples in Australia that have been witnessed in the country over the last few months. Prime Minister Modi thanked Prime Minister Albanese for the strict action being taken and said that anti-social elements will not be tolerated. There was a mega diaspora event organised by the Indian Australian Diaspora Foundation. There were instrumental performances, traditional dances and a lot more. Albanese called Narendra Modi a boss and said that even Bruce Springsteen did not receive the kind of welcome that the Indian Prime Minister got. Now, Prime Minister Modi said that India-Australia ties are in T20 mode. He also extended an invitation to Albanese to watch the Cricket World Cup in India and to take part in India's Diwali celebrations. It was a trip that boosted ties on a multi-level basis.
फ्रेंड्स, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में मंदिरों पर होने वाले हमलों और अलगाववादी तत्वों की गतिविधियों के संबंध में हमने पहले भी बात की थी और आज भी हमने बात की है। भारत और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के सौहार्दपूर्ण रिश्तों को कोई भी तत्व अपने विचारों या अपने एक्शन से आघात पहुंचाए, ये हमें स्वीकार्य नहीं है। प्रधानमंत्री अल्बनीजी ने इस संदर्भ में जो कदम उठाए हैं, मैं इसके लिए उनको धन्यवाद देता हूं। साथ ही उन्होंने मुझे एक बार फिर आश्वस्त किया है कि वो ऐसे तत्वों के विरुद्ध सख्त एक्शन लेते रहेंगे।
It is a huge pleasure to welcome Prime Minister Modi to Australia. In just my first year as Prime Minister, which I'm celebrating today, I have met the Prime Minister, my friend, 6 times. And what a joy it is to get to welcome Prime Minister Modi here with all of you. I said to my friend, the Prime Minister, before, the last time I saw someone on the stage here was Bruce Springsteen, and he didn't get the welcome that Prime Minister Modi has got. Prime Minister Modi is the boss.
There are also concerns about extremist elements, secessionist elements. Prime Minister did speak about it in his joint statement today. You think that's going to be addressed, you believe?
Well, I'd say this, and I've made this really clear. We guard our multiculturalism fiercely in Australia. And we guard the social cohesion which underpins that. You know, we are one of the most multicultural societies in the world. And the social cohesion and the values which underpin that matter to us. That's why there is no space for hate and bigotry, and there is no space for violence. And you know, we've had an appropriate security response to the violence against religious places, including Hindu temples, and that is to be condemned. And what we would say is there is no place for that in Australia. People have a right to peaceful protest. Yeah. That is something Australians expect, but there is a line, and we do not want people to cross it, and if that is crossed, then obviously the law will respond.
No, I respect that. Vandalism, violence, protest is one aspect. Hate is another aspect. Yes. But the messaging is now secessionist. So that's where the concern is. Is the government, Australian government?
Well, as I've said, I mean the so-called, you know, the protest which was held. The so-called referendum is simply a protest. It has no effect. and ought to be dismissed in terms of any effect. So, I mean, I don't even want to talk about the territorial integrity of India because it seems to sort of give weight to something which has no weight.
How has Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit panned out? Let's try and get in a sense of perspective. And for that, I'm joined in by Ambassador G. Parthasarathy, who's a former senior diplomat. Many thanks to you, Ambassador. It's also important to talk about how this relationship between India and Australia has in fact grown in the years, especially under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. As the former High Commissioner to Australia, how have you seen the change happen?
Let's say, having been in Australia now for almost 4 years as High Commissioner, what I can tell you is that in the early days, Australia did not look at us for almost 10, 15 years. And they kept looking at ASEAN, which is the Southeast Asian countries. So the bulk of the immigration then was from these countries. And very frankly, they did not perform to the expectation of the Australians. That's my reading anyway. And therefore, as in relations with India improved, and India became more and more drawn into the Western alliances and particularly Quad and so on and so forth. And now the Prime Minister of India invited to a G7 meeting, which is a rare honor for any outsider. They realize that we are now a serious partner in facing up, let me be very clear, to Chinese assertiveness in this whole Indo-Pacific region. Therefore, what they've done is they've been reviewing their policies.
Right.
They were very worked up about our nuclear tests, and I told them that's our business when I was there. But those things are all behind us now. And also, Albanese is finding, as I said, the immigrants from India with their knowledge of English and so on and so forth, and especially the young students, fit in much more easily into Australian society than the Southeast Asians do. And there is the Commonwealth link, a historical link.
Right. Many thanks to you, Ambassador Parthasarathy. I was only hoping that also translates into a better strategic alignment as far as the Indo-Pacific and China's influence, countering that influence of China is concerned. Many thanks to you, Ambassador, for joining in on World 360.